He's Spider-Man, so let's go back to the beginning, when he was nothing but Spidey. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. And yes, I read this every time. So this one is a bit weird. It's kind of like single issues, but it's kind of not. So I could either make you guys a giant video that skims over a ton of issues, or go a bit deeper into the individuals, just like we did for the Grayson series. Let me know what you want by giving this video a like if this format is fine. This is issues 1 and 2. This is Peter Parker. Spider bite, totally radioactive. But it did come with some cool powers. And what do you do with cool powers? You make some money, help some family, and do the normal things. But the moment that Peter's Uncle Ben was shot, all of that changed. And he decided, why not use your powers for good? Like stopping a bank robbery that happens to be conducted by a hot girl in a bunny outfit and then posted on social media. But all of this doing good is making Peter late for classes, so much so that he needs a tutor. The arrangement is that he'll tutor her for one class and she'll tutor him for another one. So Peter walks the halls thinking about Gwen Stacy, his crush, as his tutor, when Flash Thompson pushes him down. Peter thinks to himself that he can take him. In fact, maybe it's time for him to get his revenge. But before Peter can react, Gwen Stacy punches Flash. She tells Peter that he can't have his brains knocked around before she can take advantage of them first. And that they need to go now or they're going to be late for their field trip to Oscorp, the place where great minds come together to think under one roof. Everything is going fine on the field trip until Peter's Spidey sense goes crazy, and then Dr. Otto Octavius comes crashing in. Peter sneaks off to change into his superhero costume while Otto Octavius tries to steal Oscorp's technology. As Peter begins to crawl through the vents, Octavius rips Peter out of them. Spider-Man? The one that the Daily Bugle calls a menace? That was a typo, they misspelled hero. Peter begins to fight with Octavius' arms until he shocks Octavius with a power line. Octavius then begins to knock down a giant pillar, using it to escape, because Peter has to grab the pillar before it can crush everyone. Once everyone is cleared, Peter swings out of the building, grabbing Gwen Stacy along for the ride. After she's safe, Peter asks if she's okay, and she tells him, yeah. You? Peter thinks to himself, say something cool, you've got this, man, you've got this! And he responds with, yeah, while thinking to himself, nailed it! After everything is clear, Peter's friend Harry introduces him to his father, Norman Osborn. And Peter tells Norman how his work is an inspiration. And Norman tells him to keep his grades up and he'll have a spot here for Peter. Later, when Peter gets home late, he explains to Aunt May that it was because of the field trip, and she asks if he learned anything from it. And he tells her, yeah, never give up. Meanwhile, back at Oscorp, a worker tells Norman Osborn that because of Spider-Man, Dr. Otto Octavius couldn't steal there, and that's when Norman stops him. He's much more interested in how Spider-Man even got in there in the first place. As Norman looks at his computer thinking about this Spider-Man, we see an image of someone, Green Goblin, looking back at Norman, and the Green Goblin reflection tells him, not to worry, they're almost ready. On the next day, Peter starts his day with Aunt May asking if today is the big day, seeing as he's changed his shirt 5 times before leaving for school. Peter tells her that it is the day, the first day where he's going to tutor Gwen Stacy, and those shirts were just dirty and stupid. Aunt May tells him to relax, just be himself. So during class, Peter begins to think about that. Which self should he be? His nerdy self? His broke self? Maybe his Spidey self? And as the bell rings, Gwen pulls Peter into the library to help her study. Peter thinks to himself that he just needs to be himself, and he begins to look over her work, and she asks if he thinks that she can really pass, and he thinks to himself, say something cool, say something cool. And then in a Gandalf tone, he says, you shall pass! Gwen tells Peter that Gandalf rocks, but it's time for her to help him with his studies. As Peter begins to swing around the city, he thinks about how Gwen likes Gandalf, and how he likes Gandalf, and how they both like Gandalf. But before long, his Spidey sense begins to go off, and he sees a bank being robbed. As he looks around, he doesn't see anything other than sand, but the sand is moving. The sand begins to rise up, taking the form of a person, and it punches Peter. This is Sandman, aka Flint Marko, aka a real jerk. He's the bank robber, considering he just punched Peter out of the bank. As Peter gets outside, he realizes that he needs to get Sandman away from the people before they get hurt. So Peter grabs the money and Sandman begins to chase him as Peter is looking for a place where Sandman can't hurt people. And just as Peter sees it, Sandman blasts him in the back with sand. Peter looks around and notices that he fell into a construction site. Perfect, more sand! The sand begins to swirl around Peter and he realizes that Sandman may be trying to bury him. But don't worry though, this is all a part of Peter's plan. Probably? Maybe? But you know what hurts Sandman more than Spidey? Water. So he shoots his web, opening up a water valve, spraying Sandman, and then breaking free of the sand tornado thing. Peter then turns on a cement machine and asks Sandman his thoughts on cement. And just as Sandman gets covered up in cement, he tries to yell out to Peter. And Peter tells him, "Yeah, I love it too." Peter tells the police that they're welcome, and he's glad that he could have helped. And the police ask him if he's kidding. What are they supposed to do with him now? He's a giant block of cement. Peter says that at least he's not going anywhere. And the cops tell him, that's the problem. Bye. And Peter webs away. Later that night, Peter gets home and Aunt May asks how his day went. And Peter tells her that it was great, actually. Aunt May asks how he managed to do that, and Peter tells her he was himself. Every single one of them. Like I said, this is a pseudo-retconning of the origins of Spider-Man. I'm personally enjoying each issue, and if you like it, give this video a like so that I know you want more of these single issues. Maybe lumped up like this, 2 issues at once. I'm Benny the Comicstorian, and you can follow me on Twitter @Comicstorian or Instagram @Comicstorian, and I'll see you next time right here.